All right. So as Nancy said, we got SMU and Pitt coming up on Friday and Sunday. We just came off of playing Virginia and Virginia Tech. The ACC is very unique this year in volleyball, where I think there's maybe 5 teams that are in the bottom third that all have the same record, and then for a while the top third all had the same record, and then Miami was undefeated as well as Pitt. Well, Miami, it was an upset on paper, but playing at Miami is probably not an upset if you know the conference. So they've leveled everything out. Us and UNC, I think, remain the only unbeatens, but we have an unbalanced ACC schedule, so winning an ACC championship is different for most teams. So us, Pitt, Stanford, and I think Georgia Tech maybe have a little bit different schedule where we play the top RPI teams more, where a UNC, I believe, is in the middle third RPI tier, so they won't play those teams as much. So winning the conference outright is a challenge, but it's definitely a goal of ours. So we've put ourselves in a great position against 2 top 10 teams in the ACC this weekend in SMU and Pitt.
Kind of on that note, and kind of a captain obvious question is then, but how important or how valuable it is to race up the 6-0 start in the league?
That was great for us, and it's funny. 3 weeks ago, we were talking about the lightning strike at the Yum, and I think we've hit over 400 since then as a group. So something happened to Naelis Caballo when that lightning struck the Yum, and she's played the best volleyball of her career the last 3 weeks. So the record just reflects that. I just think our offense has really it really pivoted in that Western Kentucky match. And then we saw it nonstop since we've been in ACC play. The great thing about this weekend is that SMU is typically a very great offensive team, and I think our defense has been lagging a little bit, so that'll be a good test for our defense. And then Pitt has always been offense versus offense, and so it'll be interesting to see how these changes that we've made and the volleyball that we've been playing, how that's going to go against 2 perennial top teams in our conference.
How much is there to be said for just comfort level too? There was as much continuity as you represent. You're also a lot of change, and how much more comfortable the players seem as the season goes on in their roles and what they're trying to do, and how much of that are you seeing?
I think that was big. So we had planned through the year. We did a roles meeting during 2 days, and then we did a roles meeting right before ACC play. And there weren't a lot of changes between the two, but in particular, Chloe Chacoin sticks out as somebody whose leadership has really grown. I think when you come in as a transfer and then you start right away, you're kind of feeling out the team. You don't want to. Louisville had a lot of success before she got here, so I don't think she was thinking, okay, I'm going to change this and make this my own. I think she wanted to find her way within what Louisville was. Well, now we're really seeing like a very authentic and genuine version of Chloe that really, really helps us win. I mean, she's doing a lot of great things outside of just her numbers. I think she's hitting 370 in conference and doing all these great things, but it's more on the leadership side and the culture side that we've seen her helping us out. So, yeah, as far as the continuity goes, we're just about halfway through the season. We played 30 matches. I think we played 16. And it feels like once we hit that first third after our 10th, 11th match, we really started to kind of iron out roles and really kind of everybody could find themselves within the system that we're running.
You had been close to a couple of top 5 type matches earlier in the year. Did the win over Stanford maybe even raise like a confidence level a little bit for the girls, or was that not really an issue?
It probably did. I think especially to do that on the road. Chloe Chacoin, again, she had never played out there before. She had never been out to Stanford. She was in the Big Ten before, never had an away match there. And that's the most storied program in probably all of volleyball, most national championships. Very intimidating place to walk into. So for our team that does have a lot of new roles, to walk in there and get a win in such a tough environment with the travel out there and all those different things, you can't say that didn't affect the confidence of the team. I think that was really nice because, as much as Kentucky and Texas, we were close and we went 5 and all that, we still didn't win. Like, you still don't get that feather in your cap. So I think you got to, more than just play well, you got to win those matches to really take the confidence away from it. So I do think Stanford gave us a little bit of spark in that regard.
You've talked about how much the ACC has grown since you all have been here. This wasn't me to go from not being able to get wins against ranked opponents to now you've got 2 back-to-back ranked opponents in the league.
I was thinking about that driving over, just the last time. Last year we did play SMU and Pitt. That was on the road last year, and we played Pitt first, then SMU. I'm not sure if SMU was in the top 10 at the time. They might have been, but to play 2 top 10 teams within the conference, if you would have told me that 5-6 years ago, I said it's crazy. And the addition of SMU and Stanford has helped that. I mean, we just brought in great storied volleyball programs. But again, it's just as the top of the conference gets better and better, there's been more teams that have kind of jumped on board and supported volleyball. And, it's made, especially the top third of the conference, just pretty much a crapshoot of who can beat who. It makes it really fun for our conference play. We're probably due for a conference tournament. So the SEC just added one. Big Ten doesn't have one. I think the ACC, it would be pretty cool to have an end of the season tournament. Like I said, we have an unbalanced conference schedule. So winning the conference for some teams is quite a bit harder than winning the conference for the other teams. It's hard regardless, but it's just the unbalanced schedule that we have is pretty unique to call yourself a conference champion, but it'd be a great goal for us.
Do you like that unbalanced schedule? I guess it helps the RPI maybe?
So Chris Poole at Florida State, he's been there forever, and he's been there so long. He only looks like 40 years old. I know he's older than that, but and he is brilliant. And so he came up with our schedule, I think in 2017 when I entered the conference as an assistant. And I think it's kind of based off of basketball. It's an RPI pod-based system. So your last 2 years, you just take the RPI, the average RPI, and you take the top 4 teams, and you say, okay, we're going to play everybody. But then at the end of the year, those pods are going to play each other. That way, if somebody's, it's more so for the middle of the conference. If you're fringe tournament, what you don't want to do is be playing a team that, even if you beat them, your RPI goes down. Because if you play a team in the high 100s of an RPI, even if you beat them, your RPI will drop, your ranking, according to the computer, will drop. So he came up with this system where at the end of the year, you're playing teams that over the last 2 years have been in your tier. And that's why at the end of the year, we play Stanford and Pitt. So for us, I love that because it's a great, it's not so much a tune-up for the NCAA tournament because it usually does dictate who wins the conference. So it feels like the NCAA tournament starts, 2 weeks prior than when it really does. So it's a great system. I really do love the scheduling. I think there were a couple years if it was a different system that we would have a couple more conference championship banners. But I think it's made the program better, Louisville in particular, but it's also, I think it's helped the conference a ton. It's very unique, so.
Can you talk about how we match up against SMU and then do the same thing for Pitt?
So SMU is an interesting program. They attack the portal hard, and they've gotten, this year's team is a very, very new team compared to last year's team, but they're all really, really good players with a lot of experience. So that's the hard thing with SMU. As much as they have a system and you know their coaches a little bit, they have new personnel every year or two. So you're getting a new kind of team to prep for. The continuity and consistency makes it a challenge to prep for them. So they've got a great right side and a great left side that take a bunch of swings for them. For those that have watched a match at LNN, they'll be the most pop from an opposing hitter that we've seen. I mean, they hit a very, very heavy ball. So they're really heavy on offense. And for us, our defense kind of lagged against the Virginias. It's going to be a big test for us to see if we can kind of settle back in. We've always been known for our defense. We've been very heavy offense the last kind of 3 weeks. We got to settle back into being a great defensive team, which will be a challenge against SMU. And then Pitt, we always say Pitt is like looking in the mirror. Like you're going to find out things you think you do well that you might need to work on. They're going to point out all your imperfections. They just always prep so well for us. So yeah, typically that game has been offense versus offense, and it's kind of like a sprint. But each match, each time we play Pitt is a different story. So I'll be curious what this one will be. But we know, they got a great right side who's going to take the most swings probably of anybody of the weekend against our, quote unquote, smaller left sides. And it's always a fun challenge for us to see how we can find solutions for that.
How would you describe the Pitt rivalry as compared to the Kentucky rivalry?
Oh, wow. So the Pitt rivalry, to me, from a volleyball-only perspective, I don't want to say it means more, but it hits different than the Kentucky one. The Kentucky one, transcends all sports, and it's Kentucky, and that part of it is what builds up the rivalry. Is that anybody knows? You don't know anything about volleyball, okay, well, Louisville's playing Kentucky. That's the rivalry. With Pitt, the way that in 2017 we were both unranked, and we've kind of risen together, and then we keep running into each other in the Final Four. There's just more to that. There's more storylines to it. There's more history there. You probably remember the story. It's funny. My kids will come to the game on Sunday. Last time we played at LNN Arena, my now youngest child, he was about 2 at the time. But after the match, we lost him. You probably remember this. And he went crawling somewhere in the entire stadium. Nobody could find him. And he couldn't do stairs yet, but he learned that day. And he had taken the back stairs of our gym up to the 3rd floor and was just sitting there. And we went back and looked on the camera. It was like 10 minutes. And so we run into Pitt, on the recruiting trail. And they're like, we still talk about when you guys lost that baby. And I was like, that was my kid. And so this goes, again, we have story after story with Pitt of these matches we've played and all the outside stories that come with it. But it's a really it's a really genuine rivalry because we really do. I mean, their coaches are great. They do such a good job. They prep so well. And I think no matter who wins that match, both teams come out feeling like they've improved a lot because they've learned a lot about themselves and they've learned what it's going to take to win at the highest level.
Playing these matches at L&N as opposed to the Young Center, what's the mean, but as far as environment, you got the more quaint, intimate environment there.
Yeah, it's interesting to get the perspective from Parker Mickish. He coached at UNC for 2 years before coming back and working with us, and so he had the unique experience of coming in as an opponent at LNN. And he was like, you just can't put your finger on it, but he was like, it was so hard to play there. It was hard to get momentum. It was hard to get anything going. And I think part of it is just the intimacy and how close every seat is, much like this press conference. It's like everybody feels a part of it. And so I love the fact that we're playing those matches at LNN. I know if we were to play at Yum, we'd be able to get some bigger crowds, but just from the experience of the 1,000+ people that'll be at LNN Arena, I don't think there's a better experience for volleyball in the country for sure that night, maybe this month, maybe this year. I just think being able to see and be a part of that match in that small environment, I love it. I've never been in a better gym to be a part of a volleyball match than LNN Arena.
Everybody got what they need?
All right. Thanks, everybody. Friday SMU, Sunday Pitt. Appreciate y'all.